Catholics across Latin America are mourning the death of Pope Francis. From Peru to Guatemala, many gathered in prayer, honoring his life and legacy. The faithfuls gathered in churches and cathedrals to remember a pope who changed, quote, unquote, changed the face of Catholic Church. In Lima, Peru, a cardinal called him a breath of fresh air who has been an inexhaustible force for growth. While in Guatemala, a parishioner remembered the pontiff's deep faith in God and commitment to the people, even in his final days. Pope Francis led the church for 12 years. In that time, the Pope became known for advocating for the poor, pushing for church reforms, and calling for environmental action. In 2015, he released Laudato Si, his second encyclical and the first papal document focused on the environment. Laudato Si sparked global movement, urging leaders to protect the planet and promote justice. It also shaped the 205 UN Climate Conference in Paris, where nearly 200 countries signed a treaty pledging to keep global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius. In an address to a climate summit in Vatican last year, Francis called climate change a structural sin and stressed its impact on the world's poorest. He also met with youth activist Greta Thunberg, showing solidarity with her call for bold climate action. Former U.S. Vice President Al Gore called him the People's Pope and praised his moral leadership on climate. Francis also invited oil executives and global leaders to the Vatican to push for environmental responsibility. The late Pope Francis called climate change a moral issue that must be addressed. He urged global action, appealing in his 2015 Laudato Si, subtitled On Care for Our Common Home. This encyclical letter is the first ever written by a pope on the subject of environment. It was released just months after the Pope's visit to Tacloban, which was ravaged by Super Typhoon Yolanda, and months before COP21, the UN Climate Change Conference, where the historic Paris Agreement was signed. In honor of the late pontiff, as well as Earth Day today, we speak with WWF-Philippines Climate and Energy Program Head, Attorney Angela Consuelo Ibay. So good to see you, Angela. Gia, thank you so much for joining us on this very important day.
Well, thank you for having me.
You know, it's a profound loss for us all, but a celebration as well of the late pontiff, being a climate activist himself and enjoining everybody to fight against climate change. How big and how important was the Pope's declaration against climate change?
His role was really huge and very impactful. He was really a very much an ally for the environment. He really championed how we would ourselves be part of the solution. His encyclical Laudato Si really called on us to take care and specifically really look at ourselves, our consumption, our ways of living, and even looking at how we use technology, supposedly for the betterment of the planet and not really use it for its degradation. So I think he will be missed in the circle of climate and environment because his voice was very powerful, and it really led to having, at the time when the encyclical came out at Laudato Si in 2015, really led to the Paris Agreement, really galvanizing all of the countries to have that agreement. So even as we move forward, we really hope that his voice, as well, through his writings and through the encyclical, it will still move on and move us all to have good climate action.
And also support WWF's vision mission of a future where Filipinos thrive in harmony with nature, building resilient communities, securing the country's natural wealth. So what opportunities are there today for Filipino investors to participate in sustainability-focused investments?
I think the beauty now is that there are a lot of actions that they can undertake and invest in, and it actually has, for the many years, seen how sustainability has been integrated into not just the policy, but into operations within companies and corporations. And I think this is something not just a trend, but really something that many investors should be looking into when they look into their own businesses. WWF has been working with corporates to be able to move them towards what we call scientific-based targets for them to reduce their emissions, and at the same time to find ways that they can be sustainable and relevant, and to also help our planet and the communities where they are located. We know that there are actions such as mitigation actions, which are reducing emissions such as renewable energy and energy efficiency, and we continue to espouse for them. And we do hope that people will continue to invest in them, not just as for businesses, but even for those who can afford it in their own homes. I think that these are things that we can move and have our own say. Even the simple way of energy efficiency. I think everyone, even the simplest household, can do energy efficient practices. But beyond that, I think there are other things that we should look into how to be resilient. And I think investors should be looking at resiliency actions within their businesses, as well as looking at how they can also help the communities where they're located.
And to your point on resiliency, we often hear about global energy transition, but from your experience at WWF, how can the Philippines pursue a just energy transition, one that protects the livelihoods, the biodiversity, and the vulnerable communities while moving towards renewables?
Yes, well, definitely there's a lot that we can do. Of course, renewable energy is not new, but it's something that has not gained as much traction as what we wanted it to be. But fortunately, in the last few years, has been a big push, especially from our government, to really have like 35%. And we're hoping that beyond, and we're pushing the government to have beyond just the 35% increase in our renewable energy share. What we really want also is that people also understand how they can themselves work towards reducing their effect on the environment. I mean, and environmental degradation and pollution is one of those things that people can do in their own households. So beyond just the government itself and big corporations, and these are actions that we're really hoping that people can imbibe. And today with Earth Day, the theme today is really our power, our planet, and the call for that is not just power in a literal sense, but that we ourselves have the power to make decisions and choices that will be good for our planet.
And power to the youth. I mean, they're the ones that are going to be the most affected. The Philippines, it's got a very young population. How can green industries, from renewable energy to sustainable tourism, unlock the new job markets now for Filipino youths? We have about a minute.
Yeah, I think the beginning of that is really on education. Environmental education, just going beyond that, we do have what we're espousing, education for sustainable development, which we hope our Department of Education would really look into. And I think the youth can has a voice. They can be able to be stewards, not just in their own households and in their own schools. They can, in fact, make proposals to how they see their future to be, their vision of a city, their vision of a country which is in tune with our planet. And I think that that's where we can really galvanize and get the youth, not just for their voices, but for their actions that they can help the government and also their communities, and hopefully make this planet a better place for the future.
It's a great message for Earth Day. Happy Earth Day, Gia. Thank you so much for joining us. Attorney Consuelo Ibay of WWF Philippines.